Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mustcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how to use different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Today, we have a special guest. We have Takira, our friend. Um, you want to say a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, sure. My name is Takira, and I personally like to go by Kira. I'm an aspiring voice actress or actress in general, and I am a big fan of pretty much everything and all different kinds of media. So,
We're gonna start with media we're consuming, and I'm gonna have Amir go first, and then you can go second once you get a feeling about what we're gonna say. So, Amir, you can start.
Oh joy. Okay. I feel like the most important things probably are that I finally saw Black Adam, which was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. Um, and I started playing Sonic Frontiers, which is also a lot more fun than I expected it to be. Um, Fun, not necessarily great, but fun, better than I expected. Um, what else? I don't want to say that's it because it's probably not. I feel like that would be a lie. I've been listening to a new podcast called the Penumbra Podcast, which is pretty good. I thought it was going to be like anthology stories, but it's not. They're mostly like they're kind of anthology esque, as in like they tell like three or four different stories. And sometimes there'll be like one offs here and there. But the main one that they tell is called Juno Steel, which is about this private detective on Mars, like far in the future, and that's pretty good. I haven't really listened to many of the other ones. I think I listened to all the episodes in season one, and I just kind of started listening just to Juno Steel. But I think that might be it. I started replaying God of War 2018 because I'm not a huge God of War fan, but all the hype around Ragnarok made me want to play God of War, and so I was like, I'm gonna play God of War, but to make it challenging, I'm gonna play it on Give Me God of War difficulty, and I never beat the first one, or I never beat 2018, so I didn't realize that turning it on the hardest difficulty was going to turn it into Dark Souls, but apparently it did. But I am now on the Valkyrie Queen, so I mean I made it pretty far. It's been a slog, but I did it. I feel like that's about it though.
All right. So, yeah, Kara, you can tell us about any movies, TV shows, books you've been reading, video games you've been playing, music you've been listening to.
um, okay. Well, the other day, like Thursday, I went to go see Black Panther, the newest one. I did see Black Adam right before that, like probably like a week or two
Great.
before that.
We can talk about both of those things later on.
Right. I can't bring them up.
No, I was just saying it's great
Nonetheless.
that both of you saw them. So, well, he didn't see Black Panther,
Oh,
but that both of you saw Black Adam at least.
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Um, I started seeing people play Bendy in the Dark Revival, but I haven't played it myself yet. And I don't know much about God of War, but seeing everybody play it kind of makes me interested in learning about God of War, but I don't know anything about it. Um, yeah, that's about it.
All right. So, I have been continuing to read The Witcher. Again, lately I've just been getting back into it and really delving deep into it and reading it a lot. And so the chapters I'm on kind of chronicle Amir, if you remember, at the end of the first season where Geralt saves that farmer or whatever he was, and he gets poisoned. There's like several chapters dedicated to that in Swords of Destiny, and he has like a bunch of flashbacks to a bunch of stuff that happened about Yennefer and things like that. And he has one where essentially the flashback is the scene where in the show Geralt goes to Sintra to get uh what's the little girl's name? I can't remember her name for some reason right now. Uh Siri. Um and he doesn't because Queen Calanthe won't let him. But in the book it's much different where he kind of just he doesn't really want to get her. He comes and says like, "I came here to let you know that I'm never coming back to get her." And they have this really interesting conversation that ends up low key getting into abortion rights and like both Geralt and Queen Calathi being very pro, choice. And it came out of nowhere low key, and it was kind of random for that to happen in the middle of this book out of nowhere when they were kind of just talking about how his mother abandoned him, but then started talking about how something about like her right to choose and started getting into like abortion and stuff like that. And I was like, that was very random, but shout out to the writer. um the Dragon Prince season, I think 4 is the current season came out. I've barely watched the first episode. I started watching it, and then for some reason I just couldn't get through it. I really like the first 3 seasons, but I'm having a hard time getting back into it for some reason. I'm not sure why. Atlanta, the final season, is airing, and it's finished airing by this point. But I'm not finished watching it. I think I have like maybe 3 episodes left. The last episode was similar to an episode from season 2, which is my favorite episode. It's called Teddy Perkins, and is kind of like a parody of Michael Jackson, and that's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil that episode for anyone. Teddy Perkins is a great episode. You can watch that episode by itself, like separated without having seen anything else about that show, and just enjoy it for what it is. It's amazing. And there's a similar episode to that in the current season, the final season, um starring Zazie Beetz' character. I can't remember the name of her character at the moment. And there's a parody of kind of Tyler Perry in it, and it's very interesting to say the least. I finished my replay of Resident Evil 2. Well, it's not really a replay. I was playing the B story. There's 2 characters you can choose from at the beginning, and they're essentially running around the same area at the same time. So the B scenario is essentially you playing the other character, seeing what they were doing while the first character you played as was doing their thing. And yeah, Resident Evil was just fun. And I started playing it because of the hype around Resident Evil 4 remake, and I'm excited for that. And I told Amir this, but I ended up like I wanted to upgrade to the PS5 version, but I apparently, Kira, I have a UK version of Resident Evil, and I never noticed because this was the last game that I bought physically before I went all digital around the beginning of the pandemic. And well, not all digital. I've still bought a couple of physical games since then, but
You got a UK version of it.
I'd never noticed because I just took the disc out and put it in the game. I never stared at the case because I knew what the game was. I didn't need to look at the case.
It didn't say it on there nowhere, like
it, it,
obviously, or you
it,
just didn't look, blatantly
the only
didn't
way
look.
you would notice is if you look at the rating, which the UK rating is PEGI 18 rather than M for mature. And I noticed that it said 18 when I was like looking up on Google, like why can't I upgrade for free? The upgrade's supposed to be free. And they were like, "Oh,
It's not in your country."
if you have a game from a different region, you can't upgrade." And I was like, "Oh, that's stupid." But yeah, that happened. Um, but yeah, that's all I've got at the moment. Moving on to animation. Kevin Conroy, the legendary voice of Batman and the animated series and Arkham games, has passed away at the age of 66, which is really young. Um, yeah, man. It was very, surprising and sad to hear. Um, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Amir. I don't know if you've heard otherwise. There haven't been any details about how he's passed, but just the fact that he has passed has been spread around. And I've already have been in the middle of a Batman the Animated Series rewatch for a while now. Been slowly watching episodes. I essentially watch like 2 episodes a week. And I started watching. I was gonna say rewatching, but really just watching Batman Beyond because I never actually watched much of it when I was a kid. So it's mostly a new experience, and it's basically a blend of Spider-Man and Batman. Um, it's a teenage Batman, and it has elements of Spider-Man within it because of that. And I think that was actually purposeful on the parts of the writers, of kind of like essentially trying to bridge that gap between the 2 characters, the 2 most popular superhero characters on the face of the planet, and making an amalgamation that everybody loves. And it's very surprising that we haven't gotten more Batman Beyond stuff since like it was airing, and supposedly there's a live action in the works. But yeah, man, it's just sad that he's gone. But I'm not really a religious person, but if he is, I hope he's in a better place. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Kevin Conroy, he only recently came out to the public, but he is gay. I don't know if you guys knew that. I know Amir probably knew that. I don't know if you knew that, Kira.
He
I
actually made an entire comic about it.
Yeah, he made an entire comic. It was in the Pride anthology. He wrote a comic about his experience. You know, being gay. And back when, well, he was 66, so back in the 70s and 80s, being an actor.
no, I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. When I seen it, it like came up for I honestly I've never seen any of the Batman like animated series or anything like
I'll
that.
force you to watch it one of these days.
And yeah, I know I have to watch it, but for me to have not seen it, it came up on my timeline like a bunch of times that he passed, and I was like, maybe I should watch it. And it's so many things on my list that I have to watch, and it was just like I'll just add it on the list.
But yeah, any thoughts, Amir?
Not really. Just disappointed that he passed, but I didn't really know him personally. It's always sad to see somebody go, but yeah, about it.
So the original 1997 Berserk anime, animated by Studio OLM, will be on Netflix on December 1st. This version of Berserk is very hard to find anywhere, and it's finally gonna be. Maybe I'm sure you could pirate it somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it like officially anywhere, and now it's finally gonna be on a streaming service. I've been wanting to rewatch this for so long. Um, a reaction YouTube channel that I talk about on this podcast all the time, Kira, is called Blind Wave. Rewatched it. Well, they watched it for the first time, like a year ago at this point. I feel like, and I watched their reactions to it, but I couldn't watch like the full length along with them because there was nowhere to find it. But now it's gonna be on Netflix. And I'm gonna rewatch it for the first time in a very long time. But I've been reading the book. I need to finish the volume that I have in my Comixology app because it's just been sitting there and I haven't been able finishing it. But yeah, Amir, you haven't seen the original Berserk, but if I'm not mistaken, you've seen the movies on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw the movies.
Yeah, and I've told you like this is the better version, but there's like literally nowhere you can watch it. But now there will be a place you can watch it, so you can finally check it out. It is dated, admittedly. It's like I said, 97, but not everything from 97 is dated. Obviously, animation is timeless, but Berserk specifically, this anime is dated, and you'll notice it, but that doesn't make it bad. It's still really good. The movies are all right. Um, I'm not a person who dislikes CG in anime. In fact, um, I'm a big kind of a spokesperson for it. I don't know. I can't think of a better term. Whereas I feel like a lot of other people kind of just hate on it all the time. Whereas I think that nowadays it's not bad. In fact, it's usually good, and people just hate on it to hate on it. But in that, it kind of hurts the movies for me personally because it's too noticeable most of the time. And the 97 anime naturally doesn't have a lot of CG. Well, none at all because it's just straight 2D, and that's hard to do with this series because the art in the manga is so detailed. Trying to translate that to animation is very difficult, and they find a way to do it a way that kind of just blends that cell shaded look with a couple kind of still frames of these kind of like painterly shots every now and again. It's really good. I would definitely suggest it as well to get it. It's very, I won't say very dark. It gets very dark, but it starts light-ish, but ultimately it is a dark series. So warning for anyone if you're gonna check it out. It is pretty dark. Um, and if you don't know the
Uh,
premise, essentially takes place during like medieval times, and the main character name is Guts, and uh he is the inspiration for every character ever to have a that has a giant sword, and I'm not joking. He literally is. Cloud Strife and his giant sword was inspired by Guts and the writer I'm blanking on his name right now. I'll put it in the edit, but who also passed away recently. So yeah, what are you gonna say?
I was saying it sounds really interesting. I've heard of Berserk despite not actually seeing or reading it before, but I've heard of it. And it sounds really interesting. It's definitely something I'll give a eye look to, especially since it's going to be on Netflix.
Kentaro Miura is the name of the writer and artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so randomly on Twitter I saw a trailer for this anime by a Chinese studio titled Paper Plane is the name of the studio. Um, and well, from the looks of it in my notes, there's actually like three studios working on it. There's Paper Plane, Land Studio, and PB Studio. And it's a mix of both 2D and 3D, similar to something like Arcane and Spider Verse. And the synopsis is, well, I didn't say the name of it. It's called To Be Hero X. The synopsis is that it revolves around a world where ordinary people can turn into heroes, and if there's enough people who trust them, and the people who are trusted the most become a hero known as X. Nobody knows who X really is, but the current X has been sitting on the throne for 2 years, and other heroes hope to dethrone X in an epic tournament. It looks really cool. Amir, I know you said you've seen the trailer several times because it's been popping up in your feed. Um, it looks interesting. It looks fun. I really like the animation. That's the biggest draw for me. The premise also sounds interesting, but really the animation is what pulled me in. What did you feel about it, Amir?
It looked like a League of Legends music video thing, and that's originally what I thought it was.
It did.
But it looks pretty interesting. The premise has me pretty interested. It reminds me a little bit of, I think it's called like Super Crux. It was whatever the Jupiter Ascended like anime was on Netflix. That's what the premise reminds me of a little bit for some reason. But yeah, no, it looks decently interesting enough. Anything with that type of art style automatically pulls me in, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. So I hope that it will.
Yeah, the X as the hero's called, their powers they were confusing me at first, but it looks like they like pull people into like a 2D world in like a different dimension, and like goes in between it and like turns people into like wall art and like graffiti, and can like pull people into that world. It confused me a lot. And they were fighting another person who could essentially, from the looks of it, clone themselves and remind me of Mr. Agent Smith from The Matrix. Which, Takira, you watched The Matrix for the first time recently, actually.
The first time?
Yeah, I did. I forgot all about that. Yeah, I've never seen The Matrix until recently.
Yeah, we were hanging out, and I was like, we should watch The Matrix. You've never seen it before. And my goal is to slowly get her to watch all these things she's never seen before.
Yeah.
Not watching The Matrix before is actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, you know what? I don't care. There's so many things I haven't seen that so many people, they just be like, you haven't seen that? And I'm like, no. And I've never seen The Matrix. I won't say I haven't seen like any of it because I've seen like bits and pieces, but I've never sat down and actually watched the movie. But now that I've seen it, I actually really like it.
The others will never compare to the first one.
Never.
I want you to know that now.
Well, now I don't want to watch the other ones. That just put a bad taste in my mouth about it because I really liked the first one.
Well, that's fine. Reloaded's good. I like Reloaded.
Reloaded is okay. In comparison to the first one, it is still.
I mean, all of them are okay in comparison to the first one, but I like Reloaded. It's still decent.
I feel like not Resurrections, Revelations, whatever the third one was kind of the worst.
I think it was Revelations.
There are very few instances where sequels are better than the original. But it also depends on how good the original is.
Is there very few instances? I feel like there isn't. You got like, well, I like the first Alien more than Aliens, but arguably people say that the second one's better. Terminator 2 is definitely.
I'm not going to talk about that because I've never seen that as well.
I know you haven't. Terminator 2 is better than First Terminator. First Terminator is good though. Winter Soldier is better than.
I feel like I'm in the minority when I say like the first Terminator more than Terminator 2.
I understand. Terminator 2. I understand that because First Terminator is good, but Terminator 2 is.
First Terminator is amazing.
But anyway.
Takira, have you seen the Terminator?
Absolutely not.
Of course you haven't. Oh my god, that's wild. We're gonna have to hang out and watch the Terminator.
Yeah, there are so many things I have to see that I have not, especially a lot of classic movies I have not seen. I know of them. I know like some of the references like have been explained to me, but have I seen them myself with my own eyes? No.
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong. You haven't seen the original Star Wars trilogy, right?
Why would you bring that up? I don't.
Oh my.
And you brought that up in front. No, I have not. I have seen from the fourth one and beyond. That's it.
wild. But anyway, Bleach, right? Bleach is airing. Animation is incredible. The final season, animation is
I haven't seen that
fantastic.
either.
That's fine. Bleach is great though. You
Fine.
should watch it one of these days. Um, it's great. I'm not gonna say too much. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Animation's beautiful. Best animation in series. I've also been rereading it, but I'll get to that in a minute. After Chainsaw Man, have you caught up on Chainsaw Man, Amir?
Not even remotely. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you seen any of it at all, Kira?
No, but I have seen bits and pieces of it.
Well, it's new and currently airing. It's like 6 episodes deep. So if you want to jump into it while it's airing,
Yeah, that's
before it
see, I can get away with that one rather than like the Star Wars trilogy because that's new.
Yeah, because that before it gets too far in and it's too late. Well, not too late,
Yeah.
but like you're too far gone.
Like
But
One Piece.
let's not talk about that. One Piece is ridiculous. But yeah, this show it's so funny. I've not laughed out loud at an anime this much in a very long time. It is unnecessarily funny. Um, it's very funny for a series that's ultimately pretty dark, and that's probably why the humor hits so hard because it's
Say
a
Chainsaw Man? Are you talking about the right anime?
yeah. I'm talking about Chainsaw Man.
I guess. You're not talking about Chainsaw Man?
Yeah, I'm talking about Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, and like on the outside, it doesn't look like something that you would be saying that about.
Oh yeah, Chainsaw Man's hilarious. Chainsaw Man is really funny. uh, well, I don't know how far you're into it, Amir, but there's some
Still
funny
only
stuff
the
in those
first
first few
episode.
episodes. Okay, first episode, there's nothing funny in it. There's nothing funny in that first episode.
I laughed a couple of times in the first episode. The first episode was kind of funny.
There's some goofy stuff in it for sure, but like there's nothing like laugh out loud funny for me in that first episode. First episode definitely sets the tone of it being like this is a darker series with some comedy for sure. Like a lot of dark comedy, a lot of just traditional comedy. But yeah, I understand why looking from outside looking in, it definitely doesn't look like something that's funny, but it's legitimately funny. But moving on to comics, and back to Bleach. I probably should have picked Bleach after Chainsaw Man, so it would have been a better transition. But like I said, I've been reading it, and as much as I love Bleach, it's my favorite anime, my favorite manga. It's one of its biggest flaws is how drawn out the fights are. Battles that could be decided in a few chapters get dragged out to like 10, and it gets annoying. Uh, I feel like this is often done by Kubo in an attempt to like flesh out side characters, but I think that he could do that with less chapters. Like there was one that got stretched out to like 8 chapters, and I was like, this could have been settled in like 4. This was unnecessary. But I finished Wonder Woman Earth One Volume 2, and it was fantastic. It started off with a bang. I'm not gonna like go into like super specific, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but Nazis.
Actually, I would like to hear about Wonder Woman Earth One because I've read Batman Earth One and Superman Earth One. I would love to hear about Wonder Woman Earth One.
Yeah, those are also on my list. And probably Green Lantern Earth One too. But yeah, I finished Volume 2. I bought Volume 3. I haven't read it yet, but Nazis invade Themyscira. This is a very small part of the story. It doesn't really grow to be anything bigger. But Nazis invade Themyscira, led by an uncomfortably hot Nazi woman. Like it was uncomfortable because I was like, this is a Nazi, but she's very good looking. And the Amazons with their their Amazons, superior skills, technology, they destroy the Nazis. And what was interesting is they imprison them and essentially send them to not Olympus, but some Greek realm to be like rehabilitated. Um, and while it sounds like your standard Amazon affair, what found fascinating about it is that their goal in defending the land wasn't to kill like you would normally see, and I feel like in most depictions of Amazons, it's like they kill you or they just try to send you away, and if you don't, they murder you. But this story very much I feel like similar to kind of like the other Earth One stories are trying to really hit the very core aspects of the characters. Um, and a core aspect of Wonder Woman is love and peace. She wants to spread love and peace, and we often see the Amazons as ruthless warriors who guard Paradise Island. The paradise they built for women from evil men, and they just murder them if they come to their island. But in this, they send them off to be rehabilitated by the gods. And this is a aspect of Wonder Woman that been wanting to like dig deeper into because it's one that I felt like didn't understand about the character for a long time, and I just saw her as the warrior queen who was willing to murder people if push came to shove. It's not her first resort, but it was always my mind that push comes to shove, she's always going to kill someone, and that's still true, but not as quickly as it was in my mind for a very long time. Like, like, situation like Man of Steel. Superman ultimately will never kill, and I don't think he ever should. But in that situation that Superman was in that movie, Wonder Woman probably would have killed him, even though Superman could just move. We're not having that discussion, but like Wonder Woman is more likely to do that than Superman is. But she'll still like she has to be pushed very very far to get to that point. But yeah, it's been interesting to learn about that side of Diana that I feel like I don't see too often in most depictions of her. And I'm excited to go into the third one and really see how that goes and how they, you know, and going into the third volume, a major conflict has been started, and I'm interested to see how ultimately I would assume the conflict is going to be resolved with as minimal violence as possible. And while there's still a lot of really good action in this comic for sure, the goal ultimately is to show how they're attempting to stop war without actually participating in the war. But moving on, I've been reading New 52's Earth 2 comics. Have you seen any of those, Amir?
I've read most of. I want to say up to the point. I can't even really say anything without spoiling that potentially. So just know I got kind of far.
Well, the premise is that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman die stopping Apocalypse evading. I don't think that's a spoiler. That's kind of like the premise and the setup. It happens like immediately within the first few pages. And new heroes arise. Essentially, this is meant to be, like the New 52's version of Earth 2 that consisted of like the Justice Society, which, in current canon, Justice Society is just a part of the main universe. But like before Crisis, they were two separate universes. And yeah, in this universe, what is it? Where I'm at so far, I haven't read much of it. I think I've only read the first volume. The Justice Society that is beginning to form is Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, Hawkwoman, and the Atom, and I think that's it. There might be one more person that I'm forgetting, but yeah, that's the current Justice Society in this story. And my two favorites are definitely Jay Garrick and Alan Scott. In this universe, Jay gets his power from Hermes, the messenger of the gods, and Alan Scott gets his power from the green, which is very interesting. The green, which is essentially the connection to all plant life on Earth. And his arch nemesis is Solomon Grundy, who's a champion of the gray, which is the complete opposite of the green, which is essentially rot and death. And I found this out. I don't remember when. It wasn't. It was before I even thought about reading this, but that Grundy was introduced in Alan Scott Green Lantern's comics. So it made sense why he was his arch nemesis in this comic. And also, it's a subtle reference to the what am I thinking? What was my brain not working? Black Lanterns. There we go. That's what they call. And I'm loving it so far. I'm excited to see more about it. I know certain things about it. About like what happens in the future, certain characters. Like I know this is like the universe where Val-Zod comes from, the one of the many Black Supermen. Well, one of the really the two. There's two popular ones, but there are several. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to read more and get to the point where those characters like Val-Zod, Power Girl, Mr. Terrific show up later on. Characters that I've just been wanting to learn more about in general. Last but not least, I finished up Teen Justice with issue 6. Um, Conflict ended. They defeated the evil Green Lanterns because this is a gender bent world, but also some of the like lantern cores are flipped, and the pink lanterns are like the main lanterns. Like I forget the name of her of the love interest for Hal Jordan, Carol Ferris. Is that her name? Carol Ferris. She's
That is indeed her.
yes, Star Sapphire. She's on the Justice League, which in this universe is called the Justice Guild instead of Hal Jordan. And the Green Lanterns in this universe are evil rather than the Yellow Lanterns. So everything's kind of flipped, and they defeated them. and I was mostly there for Jess Quick, who becomes the Future State Flash, and I'm really interested in them and just seeing more of them. But I low key grew to love the Teen Justice team as a whole, which Teen Justice is essentially what the Young Justice show was trying to be, which is a combination of Teen Titans and Young Justice. And I think it works really well with this gender bent version of that team. And I feel like they would work. I feel like this team would work really well in an animated show on like HBO or Cartoon Network. Like granted, that'll probably never happen with the current leadership there at HBO, but it would be fun. Moving on TV and film. Uh, the Last of Us HBO series has been scheduled to release, I believe. What's the date? I could have swore I wrote it. January 15th. It's going to be releasing 9 p.m. 9 p.m. on what day is that? What days will it be? I will assume it's Sunday. I feel like HBO likes to release stuff on Sundays, so that would make the most sense. Let me check real quick. It is a Sunday. Makes sense. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for that. I hope it's good. We never get good anime video game adaptations. We don't get good anime adaptations either. But um, did I suggest that game to you, Takira, when you got the PlayStation? I feel like I did.
You did, yeah. That was one. That one and Uncharted were the two that I remember the most. I know about The Last of Us. Like I've seen people play The Last of Us despite not playing it myself. Um, but Uncharted, I don't. But yeah, I know about The Last of Us. I am excited for the TV show.
Uncharted is very, very good.
Yeah, Uncharted's great.
Yeah, I started.
But yeah, I guess we can talk about Black Adam. I talked a lot about it last time. So Amir,
Sorry.
you could, say how you felt about it. I thought it was a really fun movie. How'd you feel?
Black Adam was my Black Panther. I love this movie so much, and I have absolutely no reason to love this movie as much as I do. It's not a good movie. It's just really fun, and it's like the most fun I've had in a movie theater in a couple of years. Um, yeah, can I talk spoilers? Like, is that allowed because it's been out for a little bit? Or
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Spoiler alert.
okay, so a little weird that they made Doctor Fate like they did. I honestly don't know why I was expecting different because Doctor Fate, like, realistically should have been able to solo Black Adam in this movie,
For
but
sure.
we're not going to talk about that. He also shouldn't have
Well,
died in the movie. That was weird.
he kind of didn't really want to fight Black Adam. I feel like that was kind of he didn't really want to fight Black Adam to begin with. He kind of wanted to just reason with him, and I feel like it was. I feel like he possibly could have if you wanted. No, because Sabak destroyed him, so never mind. He probably couldn't beat Black
Yeah,
Adam.
that was my thinking. Is that Sabak kind of ruined that, and he should have been able to take Sabak too. Like, he's Doctor Fate is literally like as strong and as fast as Superman, and also has magic. So like that should have been it at that point. But I did really love the movie. Hawkman was fun.
Hawkman
Kind
was
of
really
upset
fun.
that they killed Doctor Fate because I mean he kind of can't really die. That's like part of the character. But
I mean, you know why they did it though, to bring in Khalid.
yeah, which is fine. I just really, really hope that we get to see more of Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, he was real
Like,
good. He was too good to.
Pierce Brosnan is great.
Maybe he'll be his he'll be like a voice in the helmet kind of thing.
I really hope so. Like, I really, really hope so. Because Pierce Brosnan was too good to just use once.
For sure, he was great. Kit Nelson. Was Hawkman was really fun. That fight in the apartment between him and Black Adam was really good.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to like Hawkman because Hawkman's kind of both Hawk characters are really boring to me. Like I've never liked either Hawk character.
See, I love
but I really like Hawkman.
Girl because of Justice League, and Hawkman I don't have too much experience with. All I know is Hawkman. He's a cop. That's all I know about Hawkman. Hawkman's a cop.
The most interesting version of Hawkman to me was in the Justice Society animated movie, Tomorrowverse movie. That reminds me. I saw the Green Lantern Tomorrowverse movie. Beware My Powers, the one with Jon Stewart. That was honestly the worst movie in that universe so far,
I
in
heard it
my
wasn't.
opinion.
I heard
But
it wasn't particularly good. From my understanding, I hear that they essentially gave Jon Stewart Hal Jordan's story a little bit.
no, they gave him Kyle Rayner's
Oh,
story,
Kyle
like
Rayner's okay.
word for word Kyle Rayner's story. Like it's literally. Do you care if I spoil
You
that
know,
a
it's
little bit?
funny because they gave Kyle Rayner Hal Jordan's story in his introduction episode in Superman the animated series.
That is hilarious. Do you care if I spoil Beware Empire a little bit?
Yeah, I don't really plan on watching.
Okay, so keep in mind, I've loved every single movie
Well, you know
in the
what?
Marvelverse.
Let's let's hold off a little bit. Let's finish talking about Black Adam because let's hear what Kira has to say about Black Adam before we go there.
Okay.
Oh, I like Black Adam. I actually really like Black. I honestly I don't know any of the like deeper level stuff like you guys do because I've never really like read any of the comics or anything like that. But I like Black Adam from like a surface level that I know. Like as far as like I do agree with y'all. I do like the apartment fighting scene between Hawkman and Black Adam. That was really cool. I thought it was really nice. I really liked how they did it. You know, I honestly don't really like a lot of the DCU like movies. It's only like
Most
one
people
or
don't.
two that I actually like. Say again.
I said most people don't.
Yeah, I don't. But like I said, I only look at it from a surface level, so I don't know like the deeper stuff. And so like even like from a surface level, I don't like it that much. But like that one I really liked. I thought it was really nice like sitting there. And then I liked like how they did everything, like as far as cinematically. It was really nice. I didn't expect I did my mom tried to tell me before like she knew before I even knew like um I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my brain together. Um I don't remember his name. The son that
Oh,
he what
that he's a character in the comics.
yeah. I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name either. I've
his
only
son was
recently
there
randomly
and then
started reading
his son
Black Adam
got killed
comics.
and he passed his power to his dad. I didn't know that. My mom knew that before I did. I guess she like looked it up on the internet or something. But I don't know. That was really plot twisty. Like that kind of got me. Which I probably would have known again if I read the comics or anything. But I really liked that. That was really like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, honestly, I only recently started reading a Black Adam comic that's been pretty good so far because they introduced a character that intrigued me, and I plan on finishing it eventually. It's still ongoing, but I don't know a lot about Black Adam's backstory outside of being, chosen by Shazam at some point, and being a villain of Captain Marvel, and yeah. Outside of that, I don't really know much about Black Adam. You know much about Black Adam, Amir?
I do actually. He is one of my favorite comic book. I don't want to say one of my favorite comic book characters because like he's not in the top 10 or even top 20 for me, but he is one of my favorite comic book villains. Because he's kind of not really a villain. At least he started as a villain, but he's not so much anymore. Because like he's been on the Justice League very recently and everything.
Yeah. I mean, he was on the.
But he is very much so in the same vein as like Doctor Doom in the sense that he does what he pleases, and I love that so much. The movie was pretty accurate to the history of the character to a point. I also don't see him giving up the throne of Kahndaq. For a while, a lot of people did not live in Kahndaq, so the fact that it was actually populated with people was pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that he actually gave up the throne though, because there's been entire points in the comics where he's just straight up. Kahndaq has been like a no-fly zone because he will shoot anything out of the sky and like straight up. Kahndaq is basically Latveria, but like in somewhere in the Middle East, and also nowhere near technologically advanced. And Black Adam's much less of a dictator than Doctor Doom is, but they are rather similar characters.
Yeah,
But
but
no, Black Adam is really cool. I would have liked it if Dwayne the Rock Johnson had tried to do an accent, and I know why they didn't, and they said why they didn't do it.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, it could be offensive. You couldn't pull one off.
yeah, definitely get why
But
not to
like
do that.
Black Adam with an accent is honestly, in my opinion, just a little bit cooler. Just a little bit cooler with an accent.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely sounds cool with an accent. Look, I just can't help but keep thinking about the like Injustice 2 version of Black Adam that just looks like some like he just doesn't look he doesn't look like some dude from the Middle East. He looks like some like Italian dude that owns an electronics store. And Injustice 2, he does not look.
Um,
I feel like he doesn't look like the race he's supposed to be.
from an outsider perspective, what would be like a comically accurate accent that he would have?
You can handle that, Amir.
Something Middle Eastern, Egyptian maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say more like a what kind of Egyptian sounding would probably be the best.
The problem is that from someone who doesn't speak Arabic, because I just quit the job, but I was working at a job where like most of my coworkers were from the Middle East. Like most of my coworkers were either Moroccan or Egyptian, and I think I had one that was from I actually don't remember where he was from, but I asked one of the ones who I got like really close to. I was like, "Hey, can you teach me Arabic?" And he was like, "Well, do you want to know Moroccan Arabic, Egyptian Arabic, Saudi Arabian Arabic?" I was like, "I didn't know there were this many variations of the same language." But okay, so accents would sound different. Probably not to like native English speakers, but to people who are from the Middle East, there would definitely be a difference in accent. So I don't just want to say like something Middle Eastern, but probably just something Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering because I don't know much about the character, and so I wanted to know, like, what in a perfect world would he sound like?
Um, a lot of people are comparing Black Adam and the way he's portrayed in that movie to kind of to Namor and Black Panther a little bit because it's very similar. Leaders of nations that are led by a king that's a superhero that has the capabilities of protecting it. And Namor specifically is a character who's been a kind of anti-hero type character who will do what he needs to protect his people. And a lot of people are saying, like Namor in Black Panther is kind of how they wanted Black Adam to be. A ruler who just will murder people to protect his country. And we're gonna start with a spoiler-free review of Black Panther, and then we'll get into some light, maybe not light spoilers later on. But I'll start by saying it was amazing. It was fantastic. It's 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 definitely my favorite movie of this phase. Honestly, even above. Well, No Way Home was this phase, right? I'm
Yeah.
confused. I'm kind of
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how this phase has gone. This phase has been weird. I haven't hated anything. Well, that's not true at all. I absolutely despise Thor: Love and Thunder. That's a completely different discussion. But everything else I've thought most of it is okay. Some of it I've liked. This is one of the things I think is absolutely amazing, fantastic. It was a good way to end the phase. Um, it was a fantastic send off for Chadwick Boseman. And I do not envy the team that worked on this film because they had to navigate a very tough, real life situation, but also make a good movie. And in my opinion, they succeeded. It was really good. Tenoch, um, Herta is great Namor, and antagonist, like I've been saying. And you wouldn't believe this is his very first film, like at all. He's real good. Um, the returning cast is also great, especially Angela Bassett. And I can't remember Shuri's actress name at the moment, but she does a great job
Oh
as
my,
well.
I know her name, but I can't remember what
It
it
was it
is.
was just in my head and then it disappeared. But I could look it up. But yeah, again, it was a great cap off to a, in my opinion, very mediocre phase of the MCU
Letitia
overall.
Wright.
Letitia Wright, that's her name. But yeah, it's damn near 5 out of 5 for me personally. Um, how about you, Kira? Without spoiling it.
It definitely. I agree with you. It was very. It was a wonderful way to send off Chadwick Boseman. Um, I was a huge fan of the original Black
I'm a huge
Panther,
fan
and
too.
so seeing this one be able to not only work off that, but be able to continue that um, in a way that uh, they had to work around, the death of a major character like in real time. I thought that was really good how they did that, and I think they worked it very well. And even implementing new characters and things like that, I think they did a really good job, and it was just cinematically beautiful,
Oh yeah, it's
and
very
their
pretty.
music was really good.
Oh yeah, Ludwig Göransson, fantastic composer. He also composed on The Mandalorian. He's good at his job. Um, and it was definitely a very pretty film, shot very well.
Yeah, it was a very pretty film.
But yeah, so Amir, you're the type of person who doesn't care about spoilers, and you're probably not gonna watch this movie anytime soon. So do you mind?
By all means, I've already thoroughly talked over spoilers with this movie with a couple other friends, so please
I
spoil away.
All right, so spoiler alert for anybody watching. But I'm gonna start off by saying I was holding out hope that in this movie the mantle will be passed on to kind of like give people time to grieve. I mentioned this in a previous episode how my opinion changed about the whole recasting T'Challa thing, and I was like I understood why they didn't do it, and I felt like there was still a chance they could do it later on, and at the moment they would just use this as a time to let people grieve, and then later on they would recast, hire somebody else, and bring them in a later film down the line. But um, I feel like that's definitely not happening because they've introduced once again spoiler T'Challa's son, um, T'Challa Jr. and they're definitely setting him up to eventually when Shuri retires or potentially the character passes away or something like that that he will take up the role of Black Panther whenever that kid grows up or there's a time skip and they hire someone else. So I'm fine with that personally. Eventually, much like comics, well, Marvel hasn't really rebooted, but eventually the universe is gonna probably like reboot someday, and they'll have a new T'Challa. Who knows? Maybe they don't. Honestly, maybe the MCU is everlasting, and they just continue forever, and like new people take up the mantle like every 20 years or something like that. I don't know, but
think even if they reboot, I think
no,
in
no. Go
Marvel
ahead. Go ahead.
perspective, they probably wouldn't just like on a certain like even outside of the universe. I think they probably wouldn't. I don't know. Probably out of respect for
See, and that's
Chadwick.
a problem. I'm honestly upset you just said that. You're allowed to feel that way. I'm not trying to say otherwise.
Yeah,
I'm just saying like that's a problem because Black Panther is not Chadwick Boseman. He was a great person. He was a great actor. This character goes beyond him. This was the first black superhero to have his own ongoing comic. We cannot
yeah,
we cannot bottleneck that character to one actor forever. That would be
yeah,
ridiculous. I do not think they should do that. I
yeah,
eventually someone else has to play T'Challa. I don't think that they should never let the character return to life, even in a reboot, just because the first person to play him in live action passed away. I
yeah.
respect
No,
them
I
for it,
definitely
but
agree, but
I don't
I
think they should
I
do that.
don't think that they would because of that. I think they're seeing it as it was such a tragedy for him to just pass in like the middle of it that they're just like, okay, just Chadwick is gone, so now the Black Panthers is gone, and that does really suck. It would be nice to see them continue it on, even after his passing. Like even if they reboot it and it's like, okay, here's a different person playing it. And I'm sure there's not just one very strong actor, very strong black actor at that could play him. And it would be nice to see if they found someone, just as strong to be able to play him. But looking at it, I don't think they would. Truthfully, I don't.
I think they would one day, but that's a matter of if they ever reboot, which they probably will, but who
Yeah,
knows if they will.
I think they set up T'Challa Jr. as like a safe, like like big just in case. or even like for him, you like you said, to take up the mantle like as time continues on. And so I definitely think that he's kind of like, or like his character in itself is like that start of a replacement, but I don't think they would replace like T'Challa. It's himself as a character. I don't think so.
Yeah, but not to harp on that because that doesn't have too much to do with the very specifics of the film. But
Right.
Ironheart is essentially the linchpin of the film, the reason the conflict happens really, because Riri Williams creates a metal detector that can detect vibranium, which didn't exist before she made it. And because of that, Americans try to, you know, they find vibranium in the ocean, which it turns out that I don't know if it. Well, they don't confirm if it was multiple meteorites or if the meteorite just broke up and went to different places. But there's also vibranium in the ocean, and eventually that got into the soil and created another variation of the heart-shaped herb, which is used to give Black Panther their powers. Um, the Tolokanians, I guess, is what they would be called. Um, they ate the fruit and turned into mer people, and
Yeah, pretty much.
and Americans tried to steal their vibranium, so they murdered them in a great scene that felt like a horror movie, low key,
Yeah.
where
I did
like
not
they never
expect them to
explain it.
just like murk the government for coming on their land.
They never explain it, but it's a reference to like sirens that essentially, from the looks of it, like at first I thought it was one specific person who had a mutant ability to like sing and hypnotize people, with and like essentially force them to jump off into the water so they can be murdered. But like several of essentially, it's a power that several of the Tolokanians have, where they can sing and hypnotize people and force them to jump into the ocean so that they can kill them. Um, which is a
Yeah.
reference to like sirens and like mermaids and like myths and legends
Yeah.
do that.
But they also were really close with like they had a lot of orcas and like whales who communicate through like those high pitched kind of frequencies, which could also kind of be where it came from.
Yeah, that would
I
make
don't know.
sense.
Maybe they were like alluding to that because there was a lot that seemed like what they were like using as transport and were around all the time, and they use really high pitched frequencies to communicate with each other underneath the ocean floor. Because it's not like you can hear people talking when you're underneath the water, you know?
Well, they kind of just circumvent that, and like he like Namor just straight up speaks underwater, and like they just be like, don't think about it,
Yeah.
don't think about it too much. It doesn't matter. He can speak underwater. Like in Aquaman, they have a whole scene where it's like, yeah, we can talk underwater, and I'm like, I understand why they needed it, but to me, I'm just like, it's fine. I don't care. I know in real life I can't talk underwater. It makes sense. You have to explain why these people can talk underwater. You can't just have like Spider-Man start swimming and speaking like a normal person. He shouldn't be able to speak underwater. But it makes sense that the fish people can speak underwater. Like it has to have a little bit of explanation because you don't want just
Yeah.
anybody speaking underwater. It wouldn't make sense for everybody to speak underwater.
Yeah, like it's just most people you can't the water is I think it's just because of the depth of the water you can't hear the way we speak underwater. And so it was like they were like with
And
orcas
they
and they
breathe
very
differently, so it doesn't
that's another thing.
constrict their
Right?
windpipe, so they can just speak because they don't have to breathe through their mouths. I guess I
Right.
don't know. We're talking about science about these fictional creatures. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
But what was
But
it? I forgot where I was where I was going. I was talking about the Tolokanians, which I don't know if that's what they're called. I just don't know what else to call them. Their city is called Tolokan, so I'm just gonna say that's what they're called.
mm, yeah. I just Tolakanians just sound good. But
Namor
I don't
is
I name yeah, I was just about to bring him up.
he's
Um
very threatening because in the comics, Amir, he's like as strong as like the Hulk, isn't he?
He's near that strength, but he's
He's
not that
he's
strong.
not that strong he's not nearly that strong as he is in the comics. Like no character is as strong as he in the comics in the show in the movies, obviously. But he's definitely like they make it clear he is significantly stronger than everybody, including all of the Tolokanians are essentially every single one of them is a Black Panther. Maybe a little bit weaker, but every single one of them is a Black Panther because every single one of them are descendants of people who ate the heart shaped herbs and aren't like they didn't go back up and get with other humans. They, had children with each other. So it's a bunch of essentially a bunch of Black Panthers had children. So they all are Black Panthers. They all have super strength, super, durability and all that stuff and healing. And one of them got like stabbed in the chest at some point and just walked it off. So like they're all super soldiers. And Namor is
Yeah.
he says he's a mutant. There's no like he doesn't say it like they know what it is. Like how the word mutant is used in like real life, like not to like a very specific group of people in the comics. But he is significantly stronger than everybody else. He grabs at the very beginning of the movie, he grabs a helicopter and just tosses it like it's nothing. So they have to weaken him later on in the movie, like dry him out because he, breathes through his skin to actually be able to fight him. And even then, he still damn near stomps Shuri, like legit. She does not win that fight very easily.
That actually
Honestly, it's
confused
hard
me
to
a
say
little
she
bit.
won.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say she
Yeah.
won that fight.
No, she barely went. If
And
he
I'm glad they
hadn't
did
like
that
walked
because
away, she definitely would have lost that.
yeah, for sure. I'm glad they did that because he is like ridiculously strong. They also made the wings on his feet that I've always thought were cool, but I know that everybody thinks they're cool. They think they're goofy, but they definitely made them really cool in the movie. And whoever I want to know who came up with kind of like the design of how he moves, how the movement of how he flies with his wings because it was very interesting. It's kind of like he's stepping on air, and all of the movements just they found a way to kind of like even though it's this very unrealistic thing, they found a way to kind of ground it in some sense of realism so that you see it and go, that makes sense, kind of, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, like tiny wings on your feet probably wouldn't actually lift you up in the sky like that. But
It looks cool.
yeah. It looks cool. I
And
was
it's
a
a
little
reference
confused.
to Hermes, which I mentioned earlier, the messenger of the gods, who has wings on his feet.
Yeah. I was a little confused by him being able to drive because, like you said, he was a mutant, and so technically he was a human baby, and then his mom drank the heart shaped herb, and then he was a human aqua baby. And I was a little confused by the drying out thing because I'm like, if you're kind of a human aqua baby, how come the drying out was so? But I guess, I mean, he has lived underwater for like as long as he was alive. So
Hundreds
I
of
guess that
years
kind
since the
yeah, like
1600s, so like several hundred years.
yeah, like hundreds and hundreds. So I mean, your body like gets used to being underwater, and so when they're like taking that away, it's like so. I guess it kind of makes
So
sense, but I was
Amir,
also kind of confused.
I would like to know. You said you've had discussions, spoiler discussions about people. What do you think based on what you've heard?
I think that this movie sounds like a jumbled mess, but I also haven't seen it because I've just heard T'Challa Jr. I've heard that Namor beats the mess out of Sherry and that the Atlanteans are ridiculously stronger than everybody else. That's mostly it.
I don't get where you get jumbled mess out of that. You hear a bunch of random stuff and just assume it's jumbled. that
I'm not assuming it's jumbled. I'm saying it sounds jumbled to me. Look, the way that it's explained sounds jumbled.
I was about to say I can see how he can say jump. If you see it from if you hear people talking about it, you can see how it can kind of be jumbled. But the way that it's put, it's not. Like you have to see the movie to know that it's not. But I can
Yeah,
see
but
how you
like
could be like, it sounds like a jumbled mess, like it's too much going on at
most
once.
people don't have discussions about things in chronological order.
Right.
You wouldn't just call anything a jumbled mess because the discussion wasn't chronological.
I've called multiple things jumbled messes because the discussion wasn't chronological. If it does not make sense in my head the way that it's being explained, it's going to sound jumbled to me.
Well, a lot of stuff we're talking about was at the very end. The post-credit scene
Yeah.
was the mid-credit scene was introducing T'Challa Jr. and obviously she fights him at the end. That just makes sense. But in the beginning, at the very beginning of the movie, well, the beginning of the movie was T'Challa's funeral, but
Mm-hmm.
Directly after that was the sirens murdering the people that were trying to steal their vibranium. But essentially, the movie is about you know what people would do if they what other countries would do to either get vibranium or if they had vibranium. So Namor is trying to preemptively strike to prevent that.
Yeah,
Not
it was like
dissimilar to essentially Killmonger. Like they have essentially the same goals. They want to free their people by preemptively striking back against and starting a war. Which I saw someone say this. I can't remember who or where. It probably was on Twitter, but essentially saying that um, the oppressed becoming the oppressor is never the answer and solves nothing, and it just creates a cycle. Like you don't create change by you then becoming the oppressor. Then you're just gonna create a new group of people who become the oppressed and want to overthrow you and probably eventually will overthrow you. And if they do the same thing, it's just gonna go in a circle. So oppressing people will not solve anything, and that was the whole thing with Killmonger, and it's very similar with Namor. He wants to destroy people, and before they get a chance to destroy him. And yeah, it's a good film. You'll see it eventually, and
it was.
you'll probably
What
enjoy it.
I think my favorite part of it was like right before the credits start rolling when they had her just like redoing that kind of ritual that the queen. So basically, the queen had a ritual for her to be able to deal with T'Challa's death, and so she burnt her clothes from the funeral, um, so that she could be able to, I guess, cope with it in her mind. And so when they had Shuri doing that, and then the music just starts playing, I thought that was really beautiful. I really liked that a lot.
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, I don't have much to say. It's a great film. Um,
Yeah.
uh, you won't see it for a long time, Amir. So it'll be a while before we have a in-depth discussion after you've seen it. But like I said, damn near 5 out of 5. Might as well just be a 5 out of 5, honestly. But you know,
It was a good film. The movie theater I went to, they did Black Panther, and then that one right after that. With I didn't see, I didn't go to see both. I
I was
just
gonna
went to
say
see.
I would have fell asleep if I did. I would have
it
like
was really cool. They
let's
gave out like these memorabilia coins or whatever, and they were really nice. Um, but all around the movie was really great.
but yeah, moving on to video games. So we're gonna start off with Final Fantasy 16, right? So the director Yoshi P was interviewed and asked a very specific question. This is the question. In regards to diversity in the game, can we expect to see black characters in Final Fantasy 16 or people of color in general? Yoshi P's answer essentially reiterated some the stuff that we hear a lot of racist white people say all the time, and it's essentially like it would be historically inaccurate for anyone other than white people to exist in this fictional world that we made up and can do whatever we want with. Despite that fact, people of color can't exist in this world.
That
And
was a very. I seen that on Twitter. That was a very shitty.
yes,
Excuse me. Like, that was a terrible explanation
the thing is,
for.
it's okay that he made a game without black people in it. You just didn't have to explain the reason in the most racist way possible.
Why it's like you made a game without black people and you're continuing to do so, but you went on to explain why you literally won't, not can't, but won't put black people in it.
Exactly. Like it's okay. There's some things where black people don't exist. That's fine. Black people don't need to exist in everything, but don't then go and try to make it seem like black people just don't exist at all.
And then it's like a lot of like it's like
Like their reasons essentially is
I'm
saying like,
gonna
well, black
say
people don't exist in real life, so why would we put them in video games?
where you're gonna see at least one black person or at least person of color. So to sit there and say, oh, in this universe, there can't be any because it doesn't fit geographically, that's bullcrap because there are people of color everywhere. Everywhere has at least one. You can't sit there and say there's a one place in the world where there's not no people of color at all, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just you're just blatantly saying I don't want to put people of color in there because I believe in my mind that this is who should be in my game and these other people shouldn't.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like a lot of Japanese media, anime, video games, it's either white people or Japanese people. Which Japanese people obviously is gonna be Japanese people. You're Japanese, but then it's white people and nobody else. Not even other Asian people, not South Asian people, not Chinese people, not like not a. It's not
And
no
then
African people,
another thing,
no
you're
Middle Eastern
oppressing
people. It's weird.
your own race of people. You're straight up saying nobody but the people that I want to put in here is the people that's going to be in here, and then making up a bullcrap excuses geographically. That doesn't make any sense.
Geographically, Africa is directly connected to Europe, motherfucker.
Exactly. Like, oh, these are all European descent people, and so there wouldn't be any people of color in there. Okay, sure.
But in the complete opposite news, kind of, just barely. Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy had
Somehow I
showcase.
knew that that was the game you were going to bring up when you said in the opposite
um,
direction.
has been trending due to releasing information about the character customization system. Excuse me, and within said system, there are extensive and detailed hair options for Black people. Naturally, Black Twitter got hype. Um, but I gotta say, who wished on a monkey's paw? Because we finally get good hair options in a video game, but it's one associated with a horrible person. Now I know the developers over at Avalanche are a separate entity from J.K. Rowling. I just think it's funny that we finally get good hair representation, but it just happens to be in a franchise that is associated with a horrible person who is, I was gonna say low key, but high key racist, very much transphobic, like a lot of ist and phobics.
That kind of sucks.
But like I said, the developers have nothing to do with her. So shout out to
It's
them.
so,
Shout out to those
yeah,
developers for making like
great
hair
to see
choices
the
for Black people
representation,
because that
but
never
it's like
exists.
also like you guys gave us representation. Why can't the creator of all this that got here do the same thing?
It's yeah, it's very strange. But go ahead. I know you want to say something, Amir, about Hogwarts Legacy.
I just feel like it's funny that I feel like they're doing it on purpose almost.
It's a spider.
Like, yeah, it really does feel like it's to spite her. I watched. I don't know if you watched the like the actual IGN playthrough. I think it was IGN. Of that like 45 minute gameplay deep dive, but it was a lot of fun to just like watch that one. I don't want to call him just that black dude, but like the black. He was the only black dude in the room. So that one black guy in the room, he was the one going over like character customization, and he was like freaking out over all the black hairstyles, and they had like 4 different variations of like fades, and it was just,
Oh, thank
it was
God.
perfect.
Because I swear,
It was,
man, white people think that Black people only wear one all around fade. And I'm like, bruh, there's so many different types of fades.
But no, it's just always that one low cut fade.
And they don't even be having shape ups most of the time. They like never
Right.
have lineups.
It's just a fade, and it just looks, just hairline is just crazy.
the
Yeah, I need
Hogwarts
to check out that
Legacy has it
video.
all.
That's
Uh,
it. Go ahead, go ahead.
sorry. Still not a super fan of the combat from what I've seen. I'm hoping there's more to combat that they haven't showed. I don't remember if it was on pod, but Dijon, you and I talked about it before. Where in the movies the spell casting seems very tactical, and this isn't canon to the movies. This is, I think it might be canon to the books. I'm not sure, but in the movies, spells seem very tactical. At least in the later movies, like they're hiding behind cover. They're using the environment, and in this, it's just they specifically described it as fencing, which is fine, but like later on, like when you are in an actual life or death duel, it just seems weird to be just out in the open fencing with like multiple opponents. I'm just not a fan of that. I was really hoping for something more. I don't want to say like a cover system or like a cover shooter, but like some type of cover system would have been nice. And I'm just hoping that we haven't seen it
Yeah,
yet, and
so
that
at that point,
one
it's just
does
a
exist.
it's just Gears of War with wands instead of guns.
I'd actually be interested to see
Yeah, I
what
was
that
gonna say
would
that
look
would
like.
be fun. Like, I feel like
Like,
that is a very interesting way to just like put a twist on like very specific genres. Like, replace the weapon with something else. Like, replace the gun with a wand, and you could have a very interesting first person shooter.
don't even change the character models either. Just put them in Hogwarts robes, or like keep like the same like short, bulky, stocky size.
But a wand and a robe. Okay. And a pointy
I
hat.
That'd be fun. I kind of feel like that would be fun. But no, yeah, no, combat is combat, but I wasn't really in this game for combat. I was in it for like the exploration and the story and like the puzzles and mystery around it. And it seems that they're fulfilling that in spades.
Yeah. I still don't plan on playing it personally, but maybe when JK dies, I'll check it
yeah.
Damn.
Wow. I was just looking at it on Twitter. Yeah, that's really they definitely went against like everything she said. Like even down to I was looking, they were saying no matter what you choose masculine or feminine presenting, you can change the voice to whatever you like, masculine or feminine, and you
Yeah.
can also change the dormitory they stay in,
And I heard that
which is interesting.
they just don't use pronouns at all in this story, so you don't have
Probably not. That
yes
makes the most sense.
to just keep it the weird, they always say
That makes
they
the most sense
them
because
and all that
do that.
just to give
They
it
just definitely just was like, we're going against everything she says.
yeah. That's great
What
to
if
hear.
J.K. Rowling? What if you die before J.K. Rowling does, and you just never get to play the game?
Oh my god.
I was gonna say I could live with that, but I wouldn't because I would be dead.
You wouldn't be
Um,
living.
I could I could die with
You
that.
could not live with that, clearly.
I could die with that. I'd be fine. Um, so before we get to God of War and kind of wrap things up, I had this interesting thought about Spider-Man 2 randomly one day that I wanted to talk about. So I thought of a way Insomniac could give Peter a Venom Shock equivalent without making him too tech heavy and kind of utilizing his bread and butter moves and I would say have him upgrade his web shooter to allow for more creative use of the webs, and this may sound cartoony, but hear me out, like forming spike balls that can be swung around or like a giant hammer to like slam down on enemies and for big damage. And it sounds goofy. It's been done in other Spider-Man games and it sounds like goofy and out of place in this Spider-Man game, but I think it could work because the technological reason they could use is that the Tinkerer's kind of programmable, excuse me, I'm stuttering, programmable matter kind of technology. I feel like could be like combined with the web shooters and the web fluid to create something that can make this kind of like low key kind of like Green Lantern but with webs kind of techniques where he could like make like weapons and use those in very interesting ways. The way and that could kind of be his version of the Venom shock that Miles has, because it already seems like, and I'm making an assumption just based on what the arms that will most likely replace his uh Venom symbiote abilities in the game will be. They kind of look like programmable matter, and it feels like his arms in the game will be programmable matter. So maybe they could do something like that and incorporate it with the webs. I feel like that could be interesting. Is that Would that be too wacky for you, Amir, or do you
That
like the
is
more
far too wacky for
tacky
me
stuff? I
personally.
meant techie stuff. I said tacky. I meant techie.
Yeah, that's it's not for me personally. It's a bit too. It feels weird to say in like a superhero universe, but if I can't see that without seeing like the Ultimate Spider-Man video game art style. Like it doesn't work to me or with me for this more realistic art style that is presented in the Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I feel like that would be interesting. I would like it. It would fit for me, but I understand why it wouldn't for some people. But last but not least, God of War Ragnarok. I have been playing this game probably too much. I haven't been watching anything. Almost. Like I haven't watched the last episode of Andor. I'll probably do that later tonight or maybe tomorrow morning. Um, I haven't been reading as much as I usually do. I've just been playing God of War. In fact, it messed up my sleeping schedule. I'm starting to get back on track, but just barely. So leading up to the release of God of War Ragnarok, I ran kind of like a God of War 2018 gauntlet. I purchased and read the 2018 art book and the Lore and Legends book, which is essentially recreates Atreus' journal with a bunch of added details from the 2018 game. I finally beat the Valkyrie Queen Sigrun, one of the hardest game bosses I've ever fought, and I went through and finished all of the side quests in the first game that I had left. And finally, with 2 hours before midnight, November 9th, I watched Raising Kratos, the documentary about the development of God of War 2018, which I would suggest watching if you're interested in like the creation of games. It's very good, and I timed it so that when it was over, I could jump straight into Ragnarok with all the kind of like charged emotions from seeing the hard work the devs put in. And I ended up playing from midnight to 7 a.m. I said I was gonna stop at 3, and I didn't. And then I'm playing a game. You know, when you're looking at a bright screen, everything around it is dark. So I turned my head and looked at the window, and the sun was rising. And I said, "Oh God, I should go to sleep. I have work in the morning," which is now. So I have a couple hours. Yeah. Um, it was great. I say it was. I'm still playing it, but I've beaten the main story, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm gonna give spoiler-free review and just talk about what I like about it. So, uh, they essentially perfected and improved every single aspect of the previous game, creating something that almost feels too good to be true. Like it's honestly ridiculous. Like 2018 is in my top 10 games of all time. I think this is literally significantly better than 2018, and it's ridiculous how much better it is of a game that is already amazing. The combat very fun. I like hack and slashes. This reaches that midpoint between Souls like and hack and slash that I feel like really works for the evolution of the series that they were going for with a more story driven, approach. And but they brought back the violence and the brutality from the original games, like more kind of bloody finishers. And the combat puzzles as developers constantly call it in like the behind the scenes stuff. Um really makes you think and put in use every single skill that they, give you. And speaking of which, there's tons of enemy variety. Um like in the first game, and you have been playing it, I'm sure you've noticed it and probably found fault with it, is that essentially you're constantly fighting reskins of the same character. I'm sure you've noticed that in 2018, right, Amir?
Yeah.
You're constantly fighting Draugrs, different variations of Draugrs, or every time you fight a boss is usually a different type of troll that mostly has the same type of fights, excuse me, moves. And you're fighting ogres with, slightly powered up ogres and stuff like that. Like same enemies over and over again. You're never gonna run into that in this game. There are a bunch of different enemies. For a very long time, you actually don't see enemies from the first game. It's all new enemies. Like the first time I ran into a Draugr, I almost was convinced there were going to be no Draugrs in this game, but eventually there were. There's actually this really funny part that where um a troll attacks Kratos, and naturally you go, okay, boss fight. He just kills it immediately in the cutscene. And they did that on purpose because people did not like that you kept fighting trolls over and over again. So in the cutscene, they make you think you're about to have a troll boss fight, and then you just murder the troll. They're all troll boss fights, but they're low key kind of end game quest. The troll boss fights, like they aren't really set up to be something that you do like in between story missions. Though I'm pretty sure you can. Um, the puzzles are fun. A little more challenging. They actually require you to think a little bit. The puzzles in the first game were they there weren't many and they were very easy. This one they make you think a little bit more. Only problem I would have is that the Mimir and Atreus will way too quickly tell you the answer. They don't let you figure things out. Like whenever, like I hate it because I'll have. You ever have that situation where you're about to do a chore, and then somebody tells you to do the
Your
thing
parent
that you were
tells you
about
to
to
do the
do?
chore.
That happens in this where you're about to solve a puzzle and you figure out the answer, and they tell you the answer as you figure out the answer, and you're like, bro, shut up! I just figured it out. You don't need to tell me. it's it. It didn't bother
Defeat.
me. It didn't bother me too much, but I know a lot of people who played the game don't like how often they give the answers to puzzles, because the puzzles are actually fun and a little not super challenging, but just challenging enough to where they don't completely distract from the combat and the story. And sometimes they just, if you take too long, they just give you the answer. Not completely, but they'll give you like big hints that lead you to the answer, and it can be annoying sometimes. The bosses, there's just as much diversity in the boss battles as there are the regular enemies. There are a bunch of interesting mini bosses that aren't super repeated. Like there's like the repeated boss battles are way less because there would be like only four of a specific type of boss, and that allows for there to be more diversity. There is a Valkyrie. I'm stuttering a lot. Valkyrie equivalent in these things. No, I'm not going to say what they are specifically, but there's an equivalent of Valkyries where there's a bunch of very similar types of bosses that you fight leading up to a big leader boss that, like the Valkyrie. I don't know why I can't say the word Valkyrie, the Valkyrie Queen. That is fun and challenging. Um, I recently beat all of them, and I'm on the very final one, which, like the Valkyrie Queen, has all of the moves of the previous bosses. So that's been challenging. Um, the story is fantastic. It is the end of this duology as it is because it won't be a trilogy. This is the end of the Norse saga. And the story was incredible. There are a few hiccups due to the fact that they're ending it at ending this part of their story in this game. There are a few hiccups where it's like they could have fleshed out a little bit more because that didn't hit as hard as it could have because it should have been fleshed out a little bit. But for the most part, it's it just hits. um, the idle conversations that characters have when you're just like standing in a specific area are numerous and very interesting every time. Like every time I want to just sit and wait for someone to say something just to hear what interesting conversations the characters have when I'm like just having the characters stand next to them. And the characters themselves, they're massively written. Um, the actors are giving it their all, and every actor is great. Some people find it strange that honestly, a lot of the main characters are voiced by like Americans, despite the fact that this is like a game that takes place with like Nordic characters. And you got a few characters like Amir, who has like this, who's like Scottish, or like um Derlin, who's like Australian or New Zealand kind of accent. And you get stuff like that. But for the most part, most of the characters are voiced by American actors, and it doesn't bother me, but I understand why it bothers some people that every single one of these characters that are meant to be characters from a different country speak that way. But I grew up watching anime, so like I'm already used to that. Like characters that are supposed to be Japanese just sound like Americans, so it's whatever. But yeah, it's great. So having been going through 2018, Amir, I kind of missed part of what you were saying when you were talking about it because I had to go cut the heat off because it was making noise in the background. But like, how are you feeling about 2018 since you're forcing yourself to play it? And are you? I assume you've seen some stuff from 20 from I was about to say 2018 from the current game Ragnarok, and that made you interested in like finishing up 2018 so you could try it out.
I don't think I'm gonna try out Ragnarok anytime soon. But 2018 is fun-ish. I'm not a huge God of War fan. I did not like the first three God of War games.
I
And I'm
love the
not a
story.
super huge fan of Norse mythology, so it's been interesting to say the least. I'm doing it mostly for the challenge and just because you know how you like see something and you're like, I kind of want to experience that. Like I saw, I think Corey's first episode of God of War Ragnarok, and I was like, I kind of want to play the first one a little bit, even though I'm not a huge God of War fan, and I didn't like the first one all that much when I first played it, but I wanted to give it another try, and now that I'm playing it on Give Me God of War difficulty, and I've gotten a significant portion of the way through, I am now I have to beat it for the challenge. So
Yeah, then you'll probably really like fighting those Valkyries because they can give you a challenge. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about Ragnarok. Because I don't want to go into spoilers, but one day I probably will. But yeah, it's a great game. I'm loving it. It's becoming one of my favorite games ever. Yeah. Let's see what you think about God of War before we end this.
I keep seeing it come up on my YouTube. Like they have a whole tab just God of War, and they just keep recommending it to me. I don't know. It feels like a sign. to like see somebody. I know like of God of War, but I don't really know much about it. But it definitely looks. I like, like story oriented kind of games. I may not play them myself, but I like watching people play them. So I don't know that kind of. It does definitely pique my interest. I don't like Amir. I don't know anything about God of War. Um, so it's definitely something that I would just be jumping into just kind of raw. But it definitely is piquing my interest. It's definitely something I might just like look at like Corey play it or something and like see if it's something that I want to get into and
Yeah,
look into it.
it's definitely a game that'll be fun to watch people play. Like I'm excited to watch certain YouTubers that I play it as well. Um
I've seen a lot of good reviews about it, so
it's definitely gonna
um
win Game of the Year. No,
yeah, it's
no doubt about
definitely
it. Like Elden Ring's good. Don't get me wrong, but God of War just has more mainstream appeal.
Elden did not click for me at all.
It clicked for me because I'm not big on Souls games, but this game it may sound a little strange, especially since it didn't click for you. But it has that Breath of the Wild effect where because you're allowed to do anything, you can tackle anything in any way that you want. That freedom kind of makes the game easier because those types of games are usually brutally difficult. So
Right.
it just made it more friendly for new players and for new people to jump into those types of games. Me as
Yeah.
that was my first specifically my first Souls game by that company that started the genre. I've played other Souls like games, but not any from the company that actually started the genre. So I've been
Oh,
enjoying
okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Elden Ring didn't click for me, but God of War is definitely. It's like it's in the corner of my eye, like something you see. You just kind of. I don't know if I want that. It's definitely. I'm definitely gonna give it a look and see how much I really like because it does. It does look interesting,
Yeah,
and I've heard a lot of good things about it, and a lot of people are playing it.
cool. All right.
There.
Now you can tell us what you got going on.
Smoother now. I wanted to talk a little bit. Today I found out that I was able to do a small voice acting role for an artist on Instagram. And so that was really exciting for me. She's doing a comic for college. Well, an animation actually. Sorry, not a comic. She's doing an animation for college, and she was looking for voice actresses or voice actors in general, and so I got a part of this fallen Cupid kind of character. It's very interesting. I don't
Who
want to get too much into it though.
coincidentally has my birthday, which also my birthday was Sunday. I never mentioned that. For you guys watching, my birthday was Sunday. I'm 22. And today that I'm
Yeah,
recording is my mother's birthday.
later. Oh, happy birthday to your mom.
Yeah, that's why we went to go see Black Panther. Um, but yeah, I'll make sure I put that information on the screen so people can see it.
Yeah,
Um,
she's a fallen Cupid kind of character. And it's really cool to be a part of it. It's something that I've wanted to do, and I just kind of jumped into it and did it. And like I got the email this morning that I was a part of it, and it was very interesting to know that I was a part of that.
fantastic. So,
Yeah.
I'm Dijon. You can find my app below me. There's Amir. Find his app below him. Mustard's app below that. And Kira's app will be somewhere on the screen. I'll figure that out when I'm editing it tomorrow.
And then I'm Kira.
So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.